Okay.
I usually can do better.
Don't beat the mic with that, you're cracking.
Okay, so are you ready? We're getting into the second part of our evening here, our candidate forum. And now we're going to work, get to know our incumbents and our candidates for both the House District 28 and Senate District 20. So I hope that you guys are all learning more and more about your candidates here, and that you're getting to know them a little better by then kind of getting put on the spot because they don't know these questions before they're put. I did have a request from the audience that if you could stand up and say your name loudly, and if you could stand up and respond because it's hard to hear you. Okay? Is that okay, Ellen? There it is. All right. Again, the same rules apply. There's going to be, this time though, we're going to have 8 sort of questions that you get 3 minutes to talk about. You're not all going to get to address them. Since there's 8 questions instead of 4, I'm going to have the first one will be to the Senate candidates, and then the second one will be to the House candidates, and the third one to the House, the Senate candidates and so on. And then there will be a lightning round to finish it off. And there will, at that time, we'll have questions from the audience. So if you hear something or don't hear something that you want to hear, please write it down and send it forward. If we don't get your question, which you can obviously see by now that we're probably not going to, what you might want to think about is to reach out to the person that you had that question for and ask them that question later. Okay? You guys good with that? All right, good. All right, so I'm gonna stand to do this for now. We have tonight, I'm gonna start with, we have our Senator Ed Cooper, Senate District 20, Ed. And then we have our I'm not sure what to call you. Challenger. There we go. Challenger, Tom Olmstead, Senate District 20. Then we have John Winter, House District 28. He is our current representative. And our challenger is Kevin Skates for House District 28. Okay, so Ed, here's your first question. It's long. All right, so after the end of the 67th legislature in Wyoming, Governor Gordon vetoed a property tax bill that would have given Wyomingites an across-the-board property tax cut of 25% of their home's value. He also vetoed a gun bill that would have made it legal to carry concealed weapons in public schools, hospitals, and government meetings. And he vetoed an abortion bill that would have shuttered the only clinic that provides procedural abortions in Wyoming. A special session was proposed to address those vetoes. Did you vote for or against the special session? Why and why not? Or why not, excuse me.
Thank you, Cheryl. I abstained from voting, which means I didn't vote for or against it. That ends up as a negative vote, but the reason for that was the last special session we had was restricted to one bill. One bill. They ended up considering 42. That was in 2020, I believe it was. So there is no way in a special session to control the actual number of bills that come forward. Had we been able to strictly address the bills that were vetoed, then I would have voted in favor of it. But that's not what was fixing to happen. So we were going to go down there and spend a month and $1 million, or just short of $1 million, to address who knows how many bills. The only one of those bills that was time sensitive was Senate File 54. That's the property tax bill. We wanted it passed so that we could put it in effect for the 2024 tax year. We didn't get that done. We did get some really good bills passed, but that one did not get passed. That bill will be back in some form into 2025. That bill is still just a Band-Aid. It doesn't fix property taxes. It was just a 2-year fix to help us get through until we can fix it. The gun-free zones bill, I was probably one of the strongest advocates there for that gun-free zone bill. And the reason I was that strong an advocate is because it is a Second Amendment constitutional right, period. I'm very, very strong Second Amendment. That bill will be back in some form or another. In judicial last week, we formed a task force. I'm on that task force to bring that bill forward. 3 from the Senate, 3 from the House. We've been tasked with bringing back 3 alternatives. One, basically, the bill as it stands. Representative Haroldson from Wheatland, he was the primary sponsor on the bill. He says he has some amendments to it, he wants to do some tweaks to it. A second would be the same bill amended to address the question on, there's some language in the back of that bill that's possibly unconstitutional, it needs to be addressed. And then the third is an alternative bill, one that I've actually been working on based on a gentleman from, conversations with a gentleman from Cody, that maybe it still protects 100% of our constitutional Second Amendment rights, but it may be more palatable to the education.
Thank you, Senator.
Yeah.
Okay, Tom Olmstead,
For you, though you were not in legislature last year, had you been in legislature, would you have voted for the special session or not? Why or why not?
Thank you for the question. I would have absolutely voted for it. I understand the concern that they might go off the rails, but there's absolutely ways that they could have specifically addressed those 3 bills. I think they're very important, each one of them on its own. You're looking at a pro-life bill, you're looking at a strong Second Amendment bill, and you're looking at the taxation. It's come up several times, people that either abstained or voted against the special session is, the special session is gonna cost the taxpayer more money. You're literally addressing property taxes, so I think in the long run, it behooves our legislators to have that session. It's their duty. I think good things could have come out of it. Those were absolutely 3 bills that should have went forward. And I know I'm not taking a lot of time here, but my answer is I absolutely would have voted for the special sessions.
Thank you. John?
In early May, Oklahoma Governor Kevin Stitt signed a bill into law that would give law enforcement officers the authority to arrest people without legal authority to be in the United States. So if you were legally here, you were legally in Oklahoma, all right? Stitt said his sole aim was to protect all 4 million Oklahomans, regardless of race, ethnicity, or heritage. He said the bill was not a stop and frisk type of bill. Do you believe it's a pretty hardcore illegal alien bill? Do you believe there's a need for a bill like this in Wyoming? And would you work to craft and pass a bill similar to this bill here in Wyoming? Why or why not?
Thank you for the question. It's there's a lot of ins and outs and ifs and wherefores and so forth. I'm not familiar with that bill, but we do not need illegal aliens here, and I will do whatever I can to see that does not happen, that we don't get illegals here. There's sometimes I think our governor is not maybe doing the right thing, if you will. I don't always agree with him, and so I would hope that we could get something similar to that passed. I can't remember right now whether we had a bill like that on the books, but, we need to be doing whatever is necessary to keep these illegals out of our state. So, thank you.
Kevin, can you address that question, or would you like to repeat it?
Yeah, could you repeat it?
Yep, it's a little complicated. The Oklahoma governor, Kevin Stitt, signed a bill into law that gave law enforcement, state law enforcement officers, the authority to arrest people without legal authority to be in the United States. Okay, so if you were here in the United States illegally, you were illegally in Oklahoma. And it was criminal. Stitt said his sole aim was to protect all 4 million Oklahomans regardless of race, ethnicity, or heritage. He said it was not a stop and frisk type of bill. Do you believe there's a need for a bill like this in Wyoming?
Good evening. I'm Kevin Skate. You can't read these all, but they're from a long ways away. Thanks to the Hot Springs County Republican Party for hosting this event, and I'm glad to be here. I think our border situation is out of control, and we need to do something. I think we need to somehow up our border control, up how we take care of the situation with the illegals. And if it's federal or by state, I think that's fine. I think that I would support something similar to that, maybe not exactly that bill, but something similar to that authorities, law enforcement would have authority to arrest people that don't have proper paperwork. But I think it starts down at the border itself, and I think we really need to increase our border security.
Thank you. Okay, this one's for you. You're gonna start, Tom.
Okay.
All right, I'm trying to get on all the big issues that kind of crushed you guys this year, hit you guys in the legislature. Governor Gordon launched his Decarbonizing the West initiative at the Western Governors Association a year ago to, in his words, quote unquote, examine how decarbonization strategies can position Western states at the forefront of innovation, reduce CO2 in the atmosphere, and strengthen their economies, unquote. Do you believe these strategies run in conflict with Wyoming's legacy industries? Or do you believe his initiative is a good idea? Why or why not?
Thank you for the question. Actually, I believe it's a horrible idea. We've spent a lot of effort as of late, it seems like, pushing this Green New Agenda, whether it's carbon sequestration or otherwise. There's really only two reasons that you are going to buy into this carbon sequestration. One, you truly believe that the carbon in the atmosphere that hasn't changed more than a fraction of a percent since we've been walking this planet has suddenly became this dire issue for us. That's one reason that you would be for this. I don't believe that. The second reason that you would be for that, and I'm sure one of the reasons that the governor is for money. This is strictly a money thing. There is a ton of federal dollars attached to not only carbon sequestration, for special interest money. A lot of these renewables, that money is coming in, it's our tax dollars, it's our federal tax dollars, and it's flowing into Wyoming, and it's basically stomping out our traditional energy. I'm absolutely against it. I know that the federal government, whether it's EPA, regulations, they want to stomp out our coal industry, they want to stomp out our natural gas. It's the regulations, they're strangling our traditional energy industry. And on the other side of it, they're feeding money in the back door to say, okay, well, we can keep your people with money, we can keep people employed. I ask at what cost, number one. You're basically selling out your traditional energy industry. They did the same thing with the auto industry. There was a ton of money dumped into the auto industry. They accepted it, they made the electric vehicles, nobody buys them. I think it's really gonna cause even more dependency on the federal government for these subsidies than we already are getting. So I'm absolutely against it. As far as other renewable energy, if they can stand on their own 2 feet, the problem is throughout, since solar, wind, they have always been heavily subsidized. And it actually stifles ingenuity. If you make a product and that product doesn't work as efficient as it should, Nobody's gonna buy it, you go back to the drawing board and you make a better product. That's free market, that's free enterprise, that's the way it works. As soon as these industries are pumped full of government subsidies, it stifles the innovation. I'm not against them, but as they stand right now, they are nowhere near as efficient as our traditional energy sources.
Ed, can you address that question? You need me to repeat it, or?
Yeah, would you bring it
Sure.
back to me?
Yep, this is about Governor Gordon's Decarbonizing the West, initiative that he's the president of the Western Governors Association. And a year ago, he wants to examine how decarbonization strategies can position Western states at the forefront of innovation, reduce CO2 in the atmosphere, and strengthen their economies. Do you believe these strategies run in direct conflict with Wyoming's legacy industries? Or do you believe his initiative is a good idea? Why or why not?
There's two answers to that. Part of it is in direct conflict. I'm not a Green New Deal person. I'm not a renewable energy person. I think if Philip Anschutz wants to go down there on his ranch and build 600 wind towers, that's his money, his business. But in Wyoming, 85% of our energy is exported out of state. We use hardly any of it here. And the bulk of that energy that's exported out of state is either in the form of generated electricity or in the form of coal, primarily coal. Being on the Energy Council, which is 15 states, we have representatives from 15 states and 3 provinces, and they're all energy producing states. These folks are worried about their coal supply from Nebraska to Kansas, all the way to Louisiana. That coal supply is Wyoming coal. They understand that the only way that we're going to keep coal in production based on federal regulations is with carbon capture. Once we capture that carbon, we gotta do something with it. The proper use for that carbon dioxide is tertiary recovery, enhanced oil recovery. In that case, we take the CO2 that is captured wherever it may be, and we put it back in the ground in these oil fields around the state. In this basin, every one of these oil fields along the rim here are serious candidates for enhanced oil recovery. We have a project down in the southern part of the state at Patrick Draw. Patrick Draw was down to 10 barrels a day. When it was new, it was probably a 2,000 barrel a day field. Today, with enhanced oil recovery, Patrick Draw is producing 7,000 barrels a day. That's big revenue to the state of Wyoming. As far as the sequestration, there's good and bad with it. I'm not a big sequestration fan, I'd rather see the use. But with the sequestration projects that are coming into the state, we're also getting other industries trying to come to Wyoming, such as ethanol and fertilizer plants that are using Wyoming natural gas as their fuel source. They've got to have somewhere to go with their CO2. Right now they're back in the Midwest. They don't have anywhere to go, and they don't see any future. So these regulations are going to kill those industries. Those people want to come to Wyoming because we have primacy. We can put CO2 in the ground here, and those industries are asking Wyoming, how do we get involved? How do we move to Wyoming? How do we grow our business in Wyoming?
Thank you.
It is both sides to the story.
Thank you, Senator Cooper. Kevin, we're gonna start with you on this one. Chloe's Law. Well, actually, I'm gonna skip that one for a second. I'm gonna read something,
Okay?
and I want you to tell me specifically where I'm reading this from, okay? Quote, "All power is inherent to the people, and all free governments are founded on their authority, and instituted for their peace, safety, and happiness. For the advancement of these ends, they have at all times an unalienable right to alter, reform, or abolish the government in such manner as they may think proper." Where am I reading that from?
I'm not sure.
Does anybody here know? Do you know, John?
I'm having a hard time hearing you, I'm sorry.
You are really hard to hear.
Am I? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay.
Everybody.
What?
You need to talk way louder.
Come down and talk over the top of it.
All power is inherent, and I like saying this loud. All power is inherent in the people. And all free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their peace, safety, and happiness. For the advancement of these ends, they have at all times an inalienable right to alter, reform, or abolish the government in such manner as they may think proper.
So what's your question?
Where is that from? What is it? Easy, it's actually easy.
It should be from the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence. I forget which.
No. Tom,
US Constitution.
US Constitution.
Article 1, Section 1, the Wyoming Constitution. Just checking.
Constitution.
Yep. Okay, Chloe's Law, and I can't start with you on this one because it's kind of an incumbent question, so I'm gonna start with John. Chloe's Law was passed into legislature and was signed into law by Mark Gordon this year. It is a ban on transgender treatments for kids. Did you vote for this bill or against it? Why or why not?
I voted for Chloe's bill. There's only one clinic that I know of in Wyoming that promotes transgender and the abortion stuff. And right now I'm trying to get something done with the legislature to stop that. And I've taken it through the Ag Committee. But Chloe's Law was promoted by a gal a representative out of Cody, and she is dynamite. I mean, she knows what she's talking about, and we need to support that bill and do what we can to help these kids. So, thank you.
Kevin, if you had been in legislature, would you have voted for the Chloe's Law bill? I think they changed the name of it, though.
Yes, sir.
They changed it too.
Prevent child, they changed it now. Remember what they changed it from?
I can't. That child.
Yeah, so sorry if I'm saying the wrong thing, but it basically outlaws, it's a ban on transgender treatments for kids without parental consent. How would you have voted on that?
If not knowing a lot about it, but I would have voted for it,
For
for Chloe's Law.
the ban?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. All right, back to Ed. Let's see. Huh? I thought it was loud. On April 9th, 2024, Secretary of State Chuck Gray sent a letter to Governor Mark Gordon urging him to sign the Secretary of State's amendments to Chapter 2 of its election procedures to require acceptable identification for proof of identity, including proof of Wyoming residency when registering to vote in Wyoming, as well as to provide uniformity and clarity concerning providing evidence of U.S. citizenship when registering to vote. 3 days later, Governor Gordon, along with legislative leadership advice from both chambers, vetoed this rule change, saying that Secretary Gray was exceeding his statutory authority. Which side of this argument are you on and why?
You know, you have to have a valid ID to even get a library card. So, asking somebody to prove where they live as part of their voter ID, it's just common sense. I cannot see what the big deal is. Now, on my driver's license, I've had mine a long time, it does not have my street address on it. It didn't used to be required. When you get a driver's license today, you have to have your street address on it. But mine didn't, so by law, had it passed, I would have either had to go get a new driver's license, or I wouldn't have been able to vote. It's pretty simple, go get a new driver's license, get what you need on it. It's not a big deal.
No, we're not taking anything from the audience. I'm really sorry, we're not getting any input from the audience, unless you can't hear you.
No, we didn't ask the question.
Okay. Cause we're not having a free-for-all. She feels like you didn't answer the question. The question was,
Am I in favor?
were you in favor of Mark Gordon's decision saying that Secretary Gray was exceeding his authority?
I would have supported Secretary Gray.
Okay, thank you. Does that help you? Okay, thank you. Tom?
Same question, okay? I have to echo what Senator Cooper said. I think it's a no-brainer. You supply an ID for library, to get on an airline, to buy airline tickets. We have a serious issue in this country with election fraud. I support a lot of what Secretary of State Gray has been doing to curb that election fraud. I think there's a lot more that can be done. Unfortunately, he's being stifled a lot by the governor. But I don't see where there's an issue, why it should even be an issue to show ID to vote. No, I could go on and on, but it's a pretty self-explanatory answer, so.
Okay, last question is gonna deal with the budget. This one's hard, all right? I was just trying to get to all the issues. Budget's a big one, right? Okay, so this is for you, Kevin and John. According to NASBO, the National Association of State Budget Officers, the enacted budget for Wyoming's fiscal year 2025 to 2026 says that our budget holds 153 million statutory reserve, or 5% of our general fund in the budget reserve account, and transfers the remaining general fund budget reserve account ending balance of 49 million to basically the rainy day fund, all right, or the LSRA, which has a projected balance of 1.6 billion at the end of next biennium after the transfer. Do you support the continuation of adding more money every legislative session to the rainy day fund? If yes, why? If no, what would you propose to do with that money instead?
I do support the rainy day fund. I think there's a lot of states that are envious of us for being able to do that. However, so I would say yes, I would agree with continuing to put money into that fund. But at the same time, we heard earlier about property taxes and lowering property taxes and things like that. And so at some point, if we get to the point where we don't have enough money for our infrastructure, for small towns, for communities, we may have to dip into that rainy day fund, but I am in support of continuing to do that.
I'm not. I think this rainy day fund is fine and it's been good, but we keep adding to it and we're not taking care of the things we need to for the state. So we have all these trust funds and it's just getting ridiculous down there. It's hard for us to really know where we're at because we're always sticking money into some fund somewhere and we don't get anything done. We have a budget that's the largest budget we've ever had, and we just keep spending money, and it just really bothers me. I didn't vote for the budget this year. I don't think I've voted for one since I've been there, but we need some money managers down there, and I'm not one of them, but we need some money managers that know about, how to make this state, operate the correct way. And, I think we have some folks that are coming up and or have the ability to do that, but they keep getting beat down. They're not allowed to host a committee and to move things forward. It's a good old boys network down there, and I would hope that we, by electing folks, the right folks, we're gonna make a difference down there. But right now, there's being too much money spent.
Okay, that's the end of our long questions. And yes, we are going to have, everybody's going to do a stump, or is that's not the right word, stump speech, campaign speech, after we finish with the lightning round. And since I'm not nearly as organized as Jean, I'm just gonna start with that, then I'll understand. So this is like the one or two word response, right? Do you support an Article 5 Convention of States to impose U.S. congressional term limits?
Yes.
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 No.
Do you, start with you, Tom. Do you support school choice, including permitting homeschooled and private school students to participate in extracurricular activities in public schools and state education funding, or the tax credits that follow the child?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Starting with Kevin. Okay. Do you agree that individuals may only participate in sports teams and use restrooms, locker rooms, etc., that correspond to their genetic sex at birth in all publicly funded buildings and facilities?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
John, do you support prohibiting critical race theory or diversity, equity, and inclusion-based materials used in publicly funded educational settings, along with prohibiting Common Core standards or any derivatives such as next generation standards?
I don't support it.
You don't support it.
Could you repeat
Do
the
you
question?
support prohibiting CRT or DEI?
I support prohibiting.
I absolutely support it.
Yes.
Okay, N, do you support the 10th Amendment to restrict federal powers to those granted specifically in the U.S. Constitution?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes.
I didn't hear it.
Do you support the 10th Amendment to restrict federal powers to those granted specifically in the U.S. Constitution? Sort of a congressional question, but I hope that you would protect us from your end as well. Tom, do you support eliminating business personal property tax on equipment, machinery, vehicles, and inventory?
Yes.
Yeah?
No.
No.
All right. Kevin, do you support strengthening and enforcing laws to eliminate illegal immigration?
Yes.
Yes.
Would you repeat?
Do you support strengthening and enforcing laws to eliminate illegal immigration?
Yes.
Absolutely.
John, do you support legal challenges to any federal effort to stop carbon source energy from reaching the intended market?
Could you repeat it, please?
It's kind of a hard one. Do you support legal challenges to any federal effort to stop carbon source energy from reaching the intended market?
Yes.
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 Ed, do you oppose red flag laws as they pertain to guns?
Do I oppose red flag laws? Yes.
Yes.
No.
I'm sorry.
Red flag laws, do you oppose red flag laws?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And I should add to gun control terms, other than red flag laws. Tom, do you support allowing teachers who volunteer and go through training and certification to be armed in our public schools to defend the students?
Absolutely.
Do you support allowing teachers who volunteer and go through training and certification to be armed in our public schools to defend the students?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
Kevin, do you oppose abortion and the use of public funds for abortion in any form?
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
Yes.
John, last one. Do you oppose any action to restrict, prohibit, or remove any public display of our foundational documents or religious symbols, including the Ten Commandments?
do I support?
Do you oppose those who are, any actions that restrict, prohibit, or remove any public display of our foundational documents or religious symbols, including the Ten Commandments?
Will I oppose? Yes.
I oppose.
Yes.
That's it, so we're gonna have you each do it, or should I do the questions here? Yeah, okay, so let's see.
So I kind of organized them. These are the ones that are for all of them, and then there's a couple just for specific people. So I would do these if you have time, and then let them speech. I don't know.
All right, so this is for everybody, I guess. We already did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have to do this one. Yes, they, support, so you already heard the answer to supporting a convention of states. Okay. Another one here, rhino is a term that old school Republicans are being called if they don't tow the Trump train, full stop. Do you hold traditional Republican beliefs of family, country, law, and order? Or do you support the chaos of the real rhinos? I don't get this question. It's confusing. I'll leave that for everybody to take a look at, see if you can respond to that. And I don't know how to ask it. It sounds like they're talking about two different things, but. Does Wyoming have a sanctuary city?
Officially, I'd say no. Unofficially, I'd say probably Jackson. I don't know where else to go with it, but that may well be Jackson.
I kind of have to echo officially, I'm not sure, I have not heard of any specific city or county, but I would say Jackson would probably fall under that, but I don't think it is.
I don't know of any.
Okay, John?
Officially, no, I don't think there are any, but Jackson has had some problems. It wouldn't surprise me if we didn't get some effort that direction.
I see the pluses and the minuses. But, okay, should this, let's start with you, Tom. Should the school district be in the business of building rental houses?
No, absolutely.
No.
John? Ed?
No.
Good question. I could read that. Let's start with you, Kevin. How do you plan to address the large population of uninsured Wyomingites? These are the people who make too much to get Medicaid and don't make enough to qualify for affordable care. Why can't Medicaid be expanded?
I believe Medicaid should be expanded to cover that.
Sorry, I don't believe that. Can I elaborate any?
I think that's it, so. Okay,
Ask Ed.
oh, sorry. I'm sorry.
Repeat the question.
Okay, how do you plan to address the large population of uninsured Wyomingites? These are the people who make too much to get Medicaid and don't make enough to qualify for affordable care. Why can't Medicaid be expanded?
that's a two-part question. How do we address the people with the uninsured? We do that with economic growth. Why can't it, I don't support Medicaid expansion. Why can it be? I think it could be. I don't think it's responsible spending.
And I also don't believe that Medicaid should be expanded. I'm a firm believer that the government has no business in that type of thing in your medical life. There's eventually strings attached to Medicare, Medicaid, things like that. Things that you could do to resolve that is more free market. You know, we should have more availability to insurances, private insurances across state lines, insurance that isn't tied to your employment. The free market is always the solution, and government's always the problem, so.
Okay. I wish we would. This one is to Kevin Skates. I'm not very tired. Kevin, in the past presidential election, did you vote for Biden or Trump? I didn't read the questions. You don't.
Do you really want them to answer that?
I did.
I won't even stand up for that one.
All right. Are you comfortable answering that? Yes or no? It's your private.
I would never answer that.
Okay.
I don't know the needs to know who I voted for.
Okay. And this one's for you.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm gonna try to read it. I can't read the writing very well. How would you feel if it was protocol to vote 80% your party line, or you get recalled? Now you're on the hot seat.
Well, first of all, we need to understand what the party lines are and understand who's making those rules. I had a discussion with a young lady here earlier today. She said, I vote 78% with the Democrats. I disagree with that. I vote 100% with the Republicans. We have 2 Democrats in the Senate, and they will vote with us, or they won't. That's up to them. So, again, 80% of what? So, there is no provision in Wyoming for a recall. The recall is at the polls, and that's up to each and every one of you to make that decision.
I think this might be the follow-up to that, so you might as well stay standing. How important do you think the Republican platform is?
I think the Republican platform is critical. I support, I'm gonna tell you every plank on it, as I read it. Yeah, I think I don't think I know. I voted for Nixon, and I voted straight Republican in the last 26 elections, and I believe strongly in the Republican platform. There are little things within it that need tweaking, but the principles that are there are critical to the state of Wyoming.
Okay, Kevin, again, this is a whole bunch of questions on this one actually, so, and one of them I'm not gonna ask because it was the same question, who did you support, so. Is diversity, equity, inclusion, or DEI something you support?
Say that again, please.
Is diversity, DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion, something you support?
Yes.
Is ESG, environmental, social, and governance initiatives, ESG initiatives are a key business initiative. How do you feel about carbon emissions and global climate change? I think maybe what they're trying to ask, and I'm just gonna interpret this in my own brain, is there's money tied to ESG, right? And if you're Vanguard, State Street, whatever, these companies, if you can actually say, well, we're not giving you money anymore unless you do ESG. I believe that's what they're asking.
So there's money tied to ESG. Would you go for the money, or would you go for the no strings, I guess?
Yeah, no strings.
Okay. Maybe I can apologize for
Yeah.
that. Maybe I didn't ask that right at all. But that's it. So so now we wanna hear from you each for about 3 minutes. Let's start with the other end of the room. Let's start with John.
Well, folks, I really do thank you for having this session. And I appreciate having an opponent. It tends to kind of tune you up a little bit, and but I'll just give you a little bit of information about who I am, and if you don't already know. The folks in Hot Springs County have been a great support to me, and I sincerely appreciate all of you. It's my priority as a legislator to make Wyoming the best it can be, so that we're a good example to other states. And we need to do that so that we can help these other states get their act together. We got problems in Cheyenne like they have in DC right now, but we gotta keep working to make Wyoming better. I think we're making big strides in accomplishing that goal, and I implore all of you to vote for the best candidates, and please encourage your friends and neighbors to do the same. We still have a lot of work to do, and I want to stay in the middle of the action. Also, I would encourage you to become familiar with the Wyoming Republican platform and judge for yourself who is a true Republican. I am pro-Trump and his America First agenda, God, country, and family. I'm pro-Wyoming Republican platform, God, liberty, freedom, American exceptionalism. And I'm pro-life, pro-Second Amendment, pro-private property rights, pro-religious freedom, and consider myself to be a common-sense constitutional conservative. Thank you. Also, I have one other thing. Here's the Wyoming Republican platform. I would encourage all of you to look it up and judge for yourself what you're looking at there and how people are going to vote. It's really important. That platform tells a lot. So thank you.
Okay, here's what I bring to the table. Obviously, this is my first run at an elected position, but I know a lot of you in here, and I believe that I'm fair, I'm open-minded, I'm positive, I've got a ton of energy, and I'm respectful of others. And I think that is very important in today's political world. I was born and raised in Cody, lived there for a while. I moved around. I worked in a municipal government for 18 years in Rollins, and then I was recruited by the state to come here and take over the administrative superintendent's position at the state park. And that, working in the government on that end of it, I got a lot of experience working with boards, elected officials, clubs, special interest groups, organizations, families, seniors. I got a lot of experience working with groups, and that I think is one of my strengths. When I was recruited here to work at the state park, the relationships with the state and the park itself, the 19 leases we had in the park, the relationships weren't that good. So I was brought here to try to mend some fences. I think I did that. I worked with the hospital, the Gotchi Center, obviously pools and hotels, but that includes the county with the Fair Board, Wheaton Pass, Road and Bridge, and the town, worked with the town, worked with the school board, worked with the senior center. And I spent a lot of time going door to door to those places and working with them. And some of you, there's always been a commercial. It was 1974. There was a United Airlines commercial. I don't know if any of you remember it, but there was a CEO of a company. He's in his office with all his salespeople, and called him in and said, "We've got a problem. We have a business partner for 20 years. They've quit our firm." And he said, "That's because we're doing all," this is how old this is, "we're doing all our business by phone and fax." And so he started handing out airline tickets to all his employees. And he said, "We're done doing this on the phone. We're done doing this by fax. We're going to go out and meet face to face and shake hands." And they asked him, "Boss, where are you going?" He said, "I'm going to the guy that we had as a partner for 20 years that just dropped us. I'm going to his place."
Again, I want to thank you guys all for coming out. I know it's getting a little bit late. A little bit about myself. I'm Tom Olmstead. I am running for Senate District 20. My wife and I and our 2 boys live in Basin. For 26 years, I was in the aviation industry. I spent 4 years in the Navy. I got out, continued in aviation for another 22 years up until COVID. Unfortunately, my career was cut about 15 years short due to COVID mandates. I'm very principled. I never wore a face mask. I actually disenrolled my kids from public schools over it. And I never got the vaccine. I believe very, very strongly in body sovereignty and health freedom. And I'm very principled. And John brought this up. I think these 23 tenets in this Republican platform are outstanding. Somebody asked me recently, why do you want to run? Nobody wants to do this, trust me. If somebody's chomping at the bit to do this, you need to be a little bit suspicious. I feel it's my duty. I really do. I'm running because of some of the big ticket items that were touched on tonight, and that's mainly our freedom. I truly believe that the role of government is to uphold our God-given rights, our freedoms. Other than that, to utilize our tax money constitutionally and not on a bunch of frivolous stuff. And lastly, to support, to protect the innocent. Those are the three main pillars of government for me. And with as much federal overreach as we're seeing, whether it's education money with strings attached, what they're trying to do to our energy industry, out of control taxes, Second Amendment, they're attacking our way of life constantly, and I have personally seen what happens when we have Republicans that do not stand up for our principles and start conceding and start compromising. So that's the main reason that I'm running. I truly believe that Wyoming is going to end up ground zero to defend those freedoms. I really do. I don't trust our federal government. I believe it's about 90% compromised. And I think more needs to be done on the state level to push back against the federal government, become more fiscally independent, more energy independent. There's going to be a sacrifice. There's going to be, at the very least, an inconvenience, because nothing worth having ever came without a sacrifice or without an inconvenience. So that is why I am doing this. It is for our God-given rights, and I think we need to take some serious steps on the state level to push back against the federal government on everything from this woke agenda that's being shoved down our throat, and there is money attached to it, this diversity, equity, inclusion. They're trying to crush. I got the flags. They're good flags, though. But thank you guys again. If you have any questions,
Ed.
Thanks, Tom. Good comments by everybody. I think most of you know me. I'm Ed Cooper. Grew up here in the Basin. Been here my whole life. Born right out here on the hill, right above the Walking Bridge. My family has been in agriculture in the Southern Bighorn Basin since 1906, continuously. I've been in the minerals extraction business since 1972. I voted a straight Republican ticket in the last 26 elections. I feel I'm a very strong, very principled Republican. As I got to Cheyenne, first thing I learned, and I think John will probably agree with this, was just how little I understood about how the state government works. And I'm not talking, John's right, there's a good old boy network. John and I work together very closely on a lot of things. But one of the things that we worked real closely on was protecting our fire district here in this county. The county commissioners came to us in January, just before we went into session, basically in a panic. Our fire district was being dissolved by the state. And we were able to put together a bill to give the authority back to the county commissioners to stop that dissolution. And that kind of cooperation, that kind of good old boy network between people working together is critical to get these things done. The bulk of what we do down there, 99% of what we do, is not these big hot ticket items. They're very important, but the bulk of what we do is very mundane, nuts and bolts of running the state of Wyoming. On our judicial committee last week, 2 weeks ago, we took reports from DCI, from Department of Corrections, from the parole board, family services. 2 days of just mind-numbing reports, but that's part of the job. That's part of why we're there. The time involved is unbelievable. In 2023, I was away from home 140 nights. 140 nights. Put that on 5 nights a week, that's 7 months. It's a huge commitment for somebody to do this. Huge. Not just monetarily, because I guarantee you, we're way upside down monetarily, but time-wise, what it takes from our families. You know, Tom mentioned, why would you do this? You do this because it's an honor to serve the people of the state of Wyoming and to serve the people of Senate District 20. I've got responsibilities as your senator. I took an oath to the Constitution. The Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the state of Wyoming. I'm responsible for making sure I see your flags. I'm responsible for that. I'm responsible to every one of you, each and every voter. But you also have responsibilities. You're responsible to talk to us, to tell us what we're missing, if we're making mistakes, and how we can help you.
Thank you. Thank you all. Thank you very much for taking your time out and answering these questions. I hope you got to know your candidates a little bit better on some of the issues.